And then asking yourself, for those of you who are listening, ask yourself, like, how does this apply to me? Make this next few minutes really work hard for you. Just for all the listeners, I want you to ask yourself, like, how much of your life do you live from thoughts that start out with I need to or I have to?
It's all about your thoughts and how quickly our feelings can change based on what we're thinking. Are you feeling stuck, lost, tired, or uninspired? We've all been there, including myself. I'm Coach Des, mindset motivator and lifestyle entrepreneur. I'm here to tell you that the best, unapologetic, and limitless version of yourself is yet to come. The Born Unbreakable podcast is here to inspire just that. With motivating guests from all different walks of life and around the world, their stories will empower you to unlock abundance and your unbreakable spirit. Do you need accountability? Reach out to me for a free consultation of how I can support you in reaching your maximum potential. Hey everyone, it is Coach Des here, host of the Born Unbreakable podcast, and I am launching Born a Boss Babe 90-day transformational program starting in August. And I'm looking for 18 to 24-year-old young, confident women who are ready to step up and excel in life. What is the biggest difference of somebody like an Oprah or a LeBron James? It's having that mentorship and coaching. So if you're ready to supercharge your life, hit me up, des@bornunbreakable.com for more details. Welcome back to the Born Unbreakable podcast. We're here with Coach Tracy. She's the founder of Self-Made You, and she does so much for people, helping with people to get their wealth and their wellness. And she's here for the next couple of weeks helping me, actually. If you were with us last time, we did a session where Tracy did some coaching for me and what was coming up, and we had talked about my book. And today she's back, and I'm going on this journey with Tracy to be vulnerable and open myself up to the kinds of things that I'm managing every day and every week, and hoping, that the goal of doing this on the show is, helping you learn a little bit more about me, but more important, I think, than that is holding space for the kinds of challenges that we all face every day. Despite the greatness that we're human beings and go through a lot of different emotions. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity for Tracy to help me through stuff. So Tracy, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. And I love the fact that you just pointed out that, managing your mind, managing your emotions can be an everyday, it could be an every minute type effort. And if you have the awareness of, and then you understand the necessity of that, you will not only overcome challenges, like you just said, you'll go on to create things that you may have once thought impossible or that have never been on your radar. Like, you will start to blow your own mind. So managing your thoughts and your emotions not only helps you overcome the little things in life, you go on to create things like a book. Like, you really can use this tool to create things that you never thought possible. And so that's what we're focused on. But with that being said, it doesn't mean that the little obstacles or the little, barriers aren't going to show up along the way. They are going to. And so you would also use this skill set to overcome those things as well. So it becomes like a minute by minute, day by day effort. And so I applaud you for being vulnerable, bringing this forward, and, I think showing people how that they can manage their own mind, using this application, seeing it like illustrated so beautifully. And then asking yourself, for those of you who are listening, ask yourself, like, how does this apply to me? Make this next few minutes really work hard for you. Ask yourself, like, how does this apply to me? How can I solve my own mind math? How can I get beyond this challenge that maybe has been haunting me for my entire life? How do I go on to create things extraordinary that I never thought possible, like Des is doing by writing this book? So I think that you teed that up beautifully. And I think that the takeaway is this is for everyone. Mm-hmm. This is for everyone. So it's your job to roll up your sleeves and ask yourself, how does this apply to me?
Yeah, I love that. Oh, well, so much on my mind today, Tracy.
Yeah.
The feeling that comes up for me in a word is overwhelm.
Okay.
I am thinking about just about all things and going through this loop in my head of wanting everything to be perfect and knowing that progress is better than perfection. But it's finally hitting me, I think. And part of the reason this came up was I was evaluating my word for the year. So every year at the end of the year, well, at the end of 2021, I think about what's my word of intention going into the new year. And now we're more than halfway through 2022. And the word that I chose this year was momentum. And it's an awesome word. Just saying it makes me feel a sense of like, yeah, let's do this. But I do find myself either, I read this book called The Gap and the Gain. And you can either go, looking at what you gained and then you're in the spirit of momentum, or looking at the gap still that you have left and then feeling like, well, what if you're not going fast enough? Right. And then all these questions come up. So that's where it started. And then from there, I just went down a rabbit hole of all things that are making me feel overwhelmed.
Right. So I want to start with how you're feeling right now and how that would make perfect sense that you would feel that way, because you're having thoughts like, I just want this to be perfect. And you're also having thoughts around your intentional word of the year. So you can see how overwhelm would show up, right? Let's just make sense of it, that you're having these thoughts, but they're very primitive brain oriented thoughts. They're the thoughts that are very fear-based, right? The primitive brain is meant to kind of keep you alive. It's a survival part of your brain. So it's going to be, you're not doing enough. You should be doing more. This isn't happening fast enough, right? It might not be worth doing if you can't do it perfectly. It makes perfect sense that you would be having those kind of feelings when you're unintentionally having those kind of thoughts. And I'm going to underscore the word unintentional. You aren't, like, your word of momentum is a very intentional, chosen emotion. And you have very intentional thoughts that you need to be thinking to create that feeling, the energy of momentum. But the overwhelm is coming unintentionally. But give yourself a pat on the back first and foremost for noticing it, noticing that it's showing up, and give yourself the grace that it would make perfect sense that it would show up when you're having these unintentional thoughts like, this has to be perfect. Or I have to have momentum because that was my intentional word of the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I have to live into that. It has to look this way. And I was sitting here before we got on, and I was looking at my 4 rocks, which in my mastermind group, we talk about 4 rocks and just being super focused on that. And I'm halfway through. So I've accomplished 2, and I'm in the home stretch of accomplishing the other 2. One is related to the book, which we've talked about. The second is related to real estate, because I'm trying to sell a property, to buy a property, and I want it all to happen by the date that I put in my notes. Like, I'm doing it. That's what's going to happen, and So there is fear there, because as we're closing in with time, I'm holding myself hostage to these timelines. I'm like,
Mhm.
I said I was going to have a draft of a book by this date. I said I was going to close and buy property and get this real estate thing going by this time,
Mhm.
and oh, by the way, there's probably 10 other things, because I'm launching a program this year for 18 to 20, or this month, not this year, this month, for 18 to 24-year-old women. And I'm, been spending these last couple of weeks positioning the things to get ready to launch the program at the end of the month. So I'm
Yeah.
like just looking at these self-imposed, by the way,
Mhm.
just in case anyone's paying attention. They were imposed on me. I imposed them on myself. But I'm like, don't want to disappoint
Mhm.
that I committed to these things. And it's like, as I get closer to them, I have this anxiety and overwhelm, because I don't want to not do what I said I was going to do.
Yeah. So you're operating from like this I need to, I have to, right? And it is very self imposed. But just notice how it's those thoughts that are creating that vibration, that energy of overwhelm. It's not the thought that, you know, I'm confident, I am equipped, I will be able to do this in a slow and methodical way, and I am sure that however this turns out, it'll be perfect. That's not causing the overwhelm,
Right.
right? It's a thought that's very unintentional. It's running, it's probably a pretty well-driven neural pathway. Like it's a thought that you've probably thought for a really long time in the context of a lot of things. I need to, I have to.
Mm-hmm.
Just for all the listeners, I want you to ask yourself, like, how much of your life do you live from thoughts that start out with I need to or I have to? Self-imposed or not, are those the thoughts that you're operating your life from? Because it is a thought 100% of the time that creates the feeling that you're experiencing right now. So I just want to really shine a light on the fact that you're having these I need to, I have to type thoughts, and that is what's creating the overwhelm. It's not that, the program has launched. It's not that you picked a word for the year. It's not that you still, you're in the home stretch of the two more rocks. That's not it.
Mm-hmm.
Even though most people would argue, oh, yes, it is. Those are the circumstances that are making me feel this way. It's not. It's the thought that I need to, I have to, right? Dot, dot, dot. You can fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
So we really, really want to drive that point home. So it is the thinking that's generating the feeling of overwhelm. So, what do you want to be feeling today, knowing that you still have the two big rocks, you're in that home stretch, knowing that the book program is launching, knowing that you have the word intentionally picked of momentum? How do you want to feel today? And really get honest with yourself. Like, I know a lot of people would say, I want to feel amazing, I want to feel successful. But
Yeah.
if you just really get clear about how do you want to feel today in this very moment, what would that be?
Steady.
Ooh, good.
Yeah. Steady and present, aware, being able to slow down. I feel that sense of, if I slow down, I can speed up at the right time if I
Hmm.
just take a moment,
Yeah.
take a and process. So a steadiness is
And do you
what.
think slowing down and becoming aware and being present, do you think that those things happen from being forced and like kind of, you're curating this awareness, you're creating the steadiness, you're creating the the space to be present, or do you think that that organically happens when you're feeling steady?
Yeah, I think it happens when my thought goes
Yes.
to that place and it's more organic because
Yeah.
sometimes it's, and I am thankful for my little handy dandy Apple Watch here
Hmm.
because it's when it does that little thing, it's crazy how it does this. When it's like, it's time to be mindful. You need a minute, and it tells you to
Hmm.
breathe. It's amazing how that 60 seconds just takes you like, oh yeah, okay, let me just take a minute. And you take a minute and all of a sudden it's your energy can shift that quickly because your thought is now going to this thing of saying, be mindful.
Yeah.
And
And so
well, it
do
has
you think,
that's probably why. Hey, you haven't told me to go be mindful yet. Um,
right?
but yeah, it's that. I do think it's the thought that
Yeah.
helps organically shift to that space.
Yeah. And I love to teach, how to collect data to make your decisions from versus relying on drama. Your illustration of the Apple Watch is such a great one because it's not just generically coming up with times to tell you it's time to be mindful. It actually is built off of algorithms. It is looking at data. It goes off of the data that you've told it. It goes off of the data of the time of day. Some of the Apple Watches that, can take your pulse or, heart rate, it goes off of it's reading data to make that decision. That's not unlike what I want my students to do. I want them to make decisions based off of data and not the dramatic thoughts that I have to do something or I have so much to do or I still have two more rocks to complete and time's a ticking or my word is momentum and I'm not actually producing anything right at this very moment. Like those are all very dramatic thoughts that if we react from them, we will create unintentional, often unwanted results. But I want you to be intentional. So you said, same exact circumstance of today and all of the things that we have like on the horizon, and you want to feel steady. What would you have to think? Now, just get really honest with yourself. Think about the times where you have felt steady in the past. What was the belief that you were operating from that organically had you being present, that
Mhm.
had you operating in a slower, more methodical way?
Yeah.
What was
I
that thought, do you think?
I'm capable.
And do you believe that?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
And give me all the things that come to mind when you think I'm capable. Because I know your brain is just like my brain and it goes and looks for evidence.
Yeah.
What's the evidence of that?
I go to how I got here with this space to actually be fortunate enough to do what I'm doing is built on me spending, you know, so much time building a career that I intended at that time was to build a career that I could at some point be able to have this kind of momentum. So when I just take a look back, there's so many mile markers that I have accomplished. So it's clear that I can
Mhm.
do
And
these.
even were there hiccups along the way?
Oh gosh, are you kidding?
Mhm.
Over almost 2 decades of doing like consulting and coaching, just so many. But I think that um, it was in the most challenging situations that I overcame is when I knew that I was capable. And what I'm doing right now is not even I'm not even close to the kinds of trauma, thankfully, that I had to go through in the past,
Mhm.
to get that level of confidence and to recognize my own resiliency.
Yeah. So I am capable. I've proven it through this, 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 and this. That
Yes.
makes you feel the energy is very steady, which
Mhm.
then has you, when you're feeling that steadiness, how do you show up?
Yeah, I show up ready.
Yeah.
ready to take on the day, ready to take on the next phone call. I started listening to The Power of One More,
Mm-hmm.
Ed Milet, and the whole thing he talks about, which is really cool, is just, that one more thing, waking up 1 hour early, making that one more phone call, sending that one more message. Like when you're in that, related to this feeling of steadiness and readiness, you can do that. You
Yeah.
can do that a little more. And
Yeah.
that's so encouraging to think about that, because I'm like, yeah, I want to make one more call. Yeah, I'm going to do that one more thing, because that's going to give me one step
Yeah.
closer
When
to.
you're feeling steady, that's
Yes.
what organically happens. You show up doing the one more thing. But if you're feeling overwhelmed, doing the one more thing
Take a nap.
doesn't usually happen.
Yeah. I'm like, let me take a nap and see how I feel later about it. But it's true. It's a complete different energy shift. It's the difference between feeling fueled and feeling fatigued.
Right. Yeah. And so those are both feelings, feeling fueled and feeling fatigued. Fatigued is coming from what?
Fear-based.
A thought that sounds like I can't or I should or I need to,
Yeah.
right? Fueled is coming from a what?
A different thought of I'm capable,
There you go.
I'm ready.
Yeah. So which one? The fear base is always coming from your primitive brain. Your primitive brain is always going to exist. It always has a purpose. We just want to make sure that we are interrupting that pattern before we start reacting to it. We can allow it just to be there. We can allow ourselves to just notice it. Isn't that interesting? That's exactly why you and I are even having this conversation right now, because you noticed that you were having that feeling, and we are interrupting it before you start reacting to it. We're now just going to respond with with a prodigy brain thought that you had to do the work to come up with, which sounds like what? What's your prodigy brain thought?
Yeah, it's I'm capable. I can.
And I have tons of evidence
Yeah.
to prove that I've done it time and time and time again. Do you
Yeah.
see the difference? You're running away with the show from a primitive brain thought, or you're being intentional and you're going to manage your thoughts and your emotions. You're going to focus on that prodigy brain thought.
Yeah. It's
And
amazing.
yeah, and you're going to definitely see how that plays out for you. You will be responding organically. It won't be this forced, I have to do one more thing. The one more thing will organically happen when you're feeling steady, because you're focused on the thought that I am capable. I have tons of evidence to prove that, versus I need to, I have to. So every time you start to feel that sense of overwhelm, your job is to call it out. There it is. That's
Mhm.
just my primitive brain wanting me to react. And I'm learning to become that person that doesn't react. I just notice it and I come up with my intentional thought. I go and practice my intentional thought that I'm capable, and I have tons of evidence to prove that. And notice how that generates that feeling of steadiness, which then organically has you creating the result.
Mhm. It's amazing.
Good work, my friend. Good work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And it is a process, and I just appreciate the space to go through that, because even as much practice or experience you have, sometimes you need this to, hey,
Absolutely.
hold on. I've been here before. This is familiar. I've
Yeah. Yeah.
run around this racetrack a couple times. Let me get off the track and sit for a minute and reflect.
Absolutely. Everybody needs to have an awareness of how their primitive brain is operating, and they need to have the wherewithal to notice that and to ask yourself the question, is this what I want to continue creating for myself? And if the answer is no, you can manage your thoughts. And so people will always ask me, like, okay, so where do I go from here? It's very, very simple. You found that $1 million thought. I am capable and I have tons of evidence to prove that. That's your $1 million thought. It might work for you for a week. It might work for you for a year. It might only work for you for the next 10 minutes. But if it makes you feel something other than overwhelmed, mission accomplished. And so I always say, when you find that $1 million thought, I want you to tattoo it on your wrist and practice it. Like, that's the work right there. Practice that thought. Make that become the belief. Make that become the neural pathway that your brain always reverts to. Okay. So if you don't want to write it on tattoo it on your wrist, then put it on a sticky note. We have our little mind math tablets that I give to all my clients. And I'm like, once you find a formula, the thought that leads to a feeling that works for you, that then has you responding, creating the results that you never thought possible, capture that.
Yeah.
Make it visual, practice it like it's your job. It will create extraordinary results. So
And I think it's awesome that you mentioned that, because it really is that simple.
it is.
And I've done that so much, from writing a Post-it and sticking it where I have to look at it constantly, whether it's your bathroom mirror, it's your computer, it's your closet, it's your car off to the side in your car or something. Or like I set alarms. It goes off and it's like, oh, hey, that thought again that you want to think to generate the feeling. And or journaling. I mean, there's so many ways to do that. And thank you. This is awesome. And especially on the day where, or the week where I'm getting ready to, go into the book program. And, I'm excited to circle back with you and let you know how it all goes. But
excellent.
amazing.
Excellent. Good work, my friend. We'll talk to you next time.
Okay. What an awesome session with Tracy Pleschourt. She is a certified life and weight loss coach. And if you're not following her, please do right now. Open up your Instagram, self_made you. Self, SELF_MADEU, the letter U. She is the founder of that company, and she just has such an awesome process. That quickly, in 20 minutes, she talked to me about the feelings that I have that were produced from the thoughts that I have. And really what I hope you're finding through listening to this episode, and hopefully you listened to the last one where she was coaching me, is it's all about your thoughts and how quickly our feelings can change based on what we're thinking. And the reason this is challenging is because there's thousands of thoughts that go through our mind in the 24 hours that are in a day. So it takes work to create a mindset where we can manage successfully our thoughts and shift them to the place that we operate from feeling what I talked about today: capable, steady, ready, excited, all of those things. And I just hope it's evident. Boy, just going through this process is really cool. It's like the gym for your mind. And I think we underestimate the time that we give to that. It's very easy for some reason for us to visually understand this concept of going to the physical gym or exercising. It's everywhere. We see it and we understand that if you want results physically, of course, the number one thing to do is your diet. Tracy and any other professional in the health and wellness space will tell you that your diet is 80% of it. But we know that part of it is going to the physical gym, keeping ourselves heart healthy, doing cardio, doing, weights to build our muscle mass, and taking the right supplements and all of that stuff. But it can be challenging for us to get behind the fact that we need to be going to the mental gym on a regular basis. That's why it's critical for us to surround ourselves with people that are allowing us to do that. The same way you would go to a personal trainer to make sure you're holding yourself accountable to your fitness goals is the same reason you surround yourself with coaches, with therapists, with other professionals that help you work on that mind piece. It's the reason why you go to resources like books or podcasts or radio shows, talk shows, community groups, because the more you immerse yourself in and around information that helps you to process things in a healthy, productive, positive manner, the better you are going to be able to make decisions and do things in the world with confidence and take the right course of action that gets you closer to the goals that you want, the life you desire, and the person that you're meant to be, which is great, awesome. If you're listening to this right now and you feel overwhelmed, you feel less than, you feel incapable, know that just by you taking a minute, taking a pause, stop for a second. If you have to count, say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like the Mel Robbins tactic, if you ever listen to Mel Robbins, and ask yourself, what thought do I need to have so I can change my feeling and my energy? Try it. Give it a try. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope these live sessions are helpful for you. I'm excited about this, just how much the show has evolved, how the listenership has grown. It's been such an amazing process. Awesome. If you haven't already, make sure to follow or subscribe to Born Unbreakable so you don't miss an episode. Share this with somebody who needs to hear it. Somebody who is working on themselves, their thoughts, being better at getting their mental game strengthened. Also, do me a favor if you haven't already and rate and review the show. It's really simple. It'll take you all of probably 15 seconds or less to do. If you're an Apple user, just go to the show, scroll down, and you'll see there's stars where you could click on a star rating and it'll say write a review and just pop in a comment. It could be about the show overall. It could be about Coach Tracy and these specific episodes, whatever you want. Your feedback means a lot to me. And if you have any ideas, feel free to reach out to des@bornunbreakable.com. Remember that you are your only limit, so take action today. And I will see you next time for another inspiring episode of the Born Unbreakable podcast. See ya.